So narcissistic supply. I've seen a lot of people ask this question, like, what is supply exactly? You hear this word thrown around. What supply actually is what drives the narcissist, which is anything that feeds their ego. So narcissistic supply can be what you normally think of what feeds people's egos, like having a big house or having lots of money or a prestigious job or the right wife or husband or living in the right community and all of those things that make you feel more important, than other people. Those are all external sources of supply. But the other way that they get supply is through what I call devaluing, debasing, judging, degrading people, controlling people, intimidation tactics, gaslighting. All those sorts of things are also a way that narcissists get supply. So understand that the narcissist is a very fragile, broken person inside. And everything they do is to cover up the fact that there's this teeny little thing inside that decided long ago, long before you ever came into the picture, when they were maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, that the world is not a great place. They can't trust the world. It was either because they experienced some sort of trauma. It may have been that they were neglected in some way, abused in some way. I've even read things that overindulged children can become narcissists as well. But the bottom line is that they end up with no sense of inner value. So they believe that they only get value from the external world and that they have to manipulate it. They have to lie about it. They have to manipulate it. And that nobody cares about them. And so they don't really care about anybody else. And in fact, if you try to care about them, they eventually end up punishing you because there must be something wrong with you for caring about them, because they have no inner sense of value. They have a very, very fragile sense of self. So in a divorce situation, you will see that injury, you're far into the discard phase. And if you haven't seen my videos on the 3 stages of a narcissistic relationship, I highly recommend you go back and watch those. So it's love bombing, devaluing, and discarding. And I have 3 different videos on each of those sections of their relationship, but they all interplay all the time. They can be love bombing as they're devaluing, or love bombing as they're discarding, or even as you're discarding. So they go back and forth between these phases. But what happens during the discard phase is you start to see the birth of the smear campaign. And that's when you start to see them lining up their flying monkeys, and they have the triangulation and all that stuff is going on. And I did my Narcissism 101 last week was on flying monkeys. So if you want to know more about them, go check out that video as well. But basically, when you are dealing with them in a divorce, they are in full-on attack mode, because when you're dealing with a narcissist, you're either for them or against them. So in a divorce situation, you're clearly against them. So they go on full-on attack mode, and they start wanting to get you first, and they start doing all kinds of things to try to manipulate you. And here's the key when it comes to divorcing a narcissist and dealing with supply. The thing is that you have to figure out, if you want to try to settle your case, and I just did a coaching call with somebody on this morning, if you want to settle your case, then you need to figure out what form of supply means more to them than the supply that they get from jerking you around. The problem is that you, as a reasonable person, are trying to resolve a case or resolve differences or issues like a normal person. You think, what can we do to get to a place of being done with this case? Or how do we resolve this in a way that we each get something that's fair? Or what does the law say? Or something like that. Like, you look at all of those things. They don't look at that. I mean, they'll tell you that they do, but what it really comes down to is, what are they getting out of this deal? And if what they're getting is not more important to them than the supply that they get from jerking you around, then they will continue to jerk you around. For those of you out there who have been dealing with narcissists in a case for years, or even just dealing with them for years, if they're still in your life and they're still jerking you around, then that means that they are still getting some amount of supply. They enjoy watching you squirm. They enjoy watching you get emotional. They get off on that, and they get supply from that. That's their food. That's their oxygen. That's what they breathe. That's what they live on. Like, without that, they feel like they have no sense of self. That's how they get their sense of self. It's totally screwed up, but that's the truth. That's what it is. That's what narcissistic supply is. So when you're dealing with them in a divorce situation, or even a dissolution of a business relationship, or even if you're dealing with a family member or a neighbor or somebody in your life who's a narcissist, you have to understand that they get supply from making your life miserable. So you have to figure out what supply source is going to be more important to them to keep than the supply source that they get from making you miserable. So what do narcissists love to do? They love to accuse you of things falsely. Why do they love to accuse you of things falsely? Because they love to trigger you. They love to get under your skin. But let's take that a step even further. Okay, so what has been going on in your relationship? All right. So first of all, you have probably been supplying them. You've been giving them narcissistic supply. It started off where they love bombed you. They love bombed you. They came on super strong, were impossible to resist. They were charming. They were charismatic. They seemed perfect at the beginning. Am I right? Okay. Now, you thought that they were amazing. You thought they were wonderful. Maybe you thought they even loved you. Maybe you thought that they were perfect, all of these things. Now, it was all a manipulation. I'm sorry to have to tell you this. It was all a manipulation. It was all meant to get this form of supply from you. Now, I have to tell you, there are a couple of different kinds of supply. What you've probably been giving them is like the best form of supply. And the best forms of supply for them are, adulation, service, making them look good, really, really stroking their ego at the top level. There's these different phases of a narcissistic relationship. There's the love bombing, and then you go into the devaluing, and then there's the discarding. And I have videos, by the way, on all the different phases of a narcissistic relationship, the love bombing, the devaluing, and the discarding. Definitely check out my videos on all of those phases of a narcissistic relationship if you haven't checked those out. When you go to leave a narcissistic relationship, whether it's you leaving or them leaving, that's when you go into that discard phase. That's when you see that smear campaign start. That's the birth of the smear campaign. By the way, it can start even before you even realize that the discard phase has started. All right. And I do have a whole video on how to shut down a narcissist smear campaign. You can check that out too. But what's happening is during this discard phase is that you've become public enemy number one, and you're no longer giving them the best form of supply anymore. So now they're going to want to continue to get supply from you, but they're just going to take it in the lower form of supply, which is making you miserable, making you squirm, showing them that they can still have control over you in some way. And so how are they going to do that? They're going to do these false allegations. And so they're going to start either through the court system, which is what I've seen as an attorney, by the way, over and over and over again. I mean, they file this stuff. either through the pleadings. So you'll see it in the divorce pleadings. Well, they'll actually say these things in the divorce petition. They'll say father was a, molester. I mean, I've seen that, horrible, horrible things like that, or a wife beater or a child beater, or, they will say, the worst possible things you can imagine, where you think, oh my gosh, I never even touched them, the worst possible things. Or they will just even say things like they didn't pay child support, they withheld money, things like that. Or they spent lots of money. They spent lots of money on the people, lies about things like that. You will see those kinds of things in actual documents that are filed with the court. I think it's important that we walk through the types of false allegations that you will see. Then the other types of false allegations that you will see as well are people will see in the actual letters that go back and forth between the attorneys. They'll tell their attorney they didn't feed the children, that the children ate candy all weekend long, or nothing all weekend long, or pizza or junk food all the entire time that they were with the dad or the mom, or that the whole time they were with the dad or the mom, they were with a babysitter or nobody, all kinds of things. Okay, so I've seen narcissists actually be hurt. I know you don't think that they can actually be hurt, but they actually can. And I've seen it happen. And really, it comes down to this. They don't want to be exposed, for one thing, but I'm going to boil it down to basically three things here for you. Okay. So the bottom line is they want to maintain control. They want to maintain control all the way till the end, and they'll do whatever they can to maintain control. And there's these various levels. And as you are sort of slipping out of their hands, they'll do whatever they can to maintain control. So here's what's going on here. You have been under their spell for a long period of time. And they started off with this love bombing, and then they went into devaluing, and then back to love bombing, devaluing, back to love bombing. And during that process, they were sort of grooming you, conditioning you. And they really thought that throughout that process that you would never really leave, even if they left you, that somehow you'd still sort of be under their control. And that's why even throughout the whole discard process, they're still trying to love bomb you in some way, the hoovering you and all that sort of thing. So when you first go no contact, that will hurt them. I mean, when you first start throwing up those boundaries, that will definitely hurt them. When they start to realize, whoa, maybe things are shifting, maybe things are different than they used to be, that's definitely going to hurt them. And they may not let on right away. They may posture. They may start to act like, bring it on. They may act like they're not hurt. I mean, a lot of times they'll say, oh, go ahead, try it. They may say, I don't really care. They may say, I saw what you filed, and that's just a bunch of crap, or whatever it is that they're saying to you. It may seem like you're not getting to them, but I'm telling you, when you go no contact or you start throwing up those boundaries, it's definitely going to hurt. Whenever you're cutting off a supply source, it definitely hurts. And let me tell you something else. If you are providing some sort of grade A level supply source to them, meaning adulation, compliments, money, sex, some sort of supply source to them that they really, really love. The reason why they won't let you go during the discard phase, whether it's a divorce situation or a business situation, whether you're walking away from them as a colleague, a business partner, whatever it is, they don't want to let you go because they're trading that grade A diamond level source of supply for
that lower level supply source now. And so they're going to try to just manipulate you and make you squirm and make your life generally miserable because they get supply from that now too. So when you're taking away your supply, that going no contact and taking your attention away from them, it definitely does hurt them. So that's number one. And number two, if you're walking away from them while they're still love bombing you, that really hurts them. So if they are in full on, I think I am really being charming and you're really not falling for it anymore, that will really hurt them. So if it's a love bomb move or a Hoover move, like they think that they are in that mode where you always fell for it before and you're really not falling for it this time, that will hurt them even more because that's their move. That's the one thing that you've always gone for. You've gone no contact, but now they're going back to the well of what worked before, or maybe it's a future fake. Maybe it's, come on, things are going to be better. You know, the past is the past. Look to the future. I promise everything will be different. I'll be the person that you always wanted. I'll do the therapy or whatever it is. You know, if it's business, I'll start doing all the things that they always knew that they were supposed to do. And I remember when I was in a business relationship with this other person who was a narcissist, all of a sudden this person started doing all of those things. And I remember just thinking it was actually insulting because I remember thinking, oh, so you knew you were supposed to be doing those things and now you're going to do them. No, thank you. Now I just really want to be done with this. But anyway, walking away from them while they're in that love bomb phase or while they're in their charm phase is super hurtful for them. That will definitely hurt them. And if, by the way, if you want to know more about what love bombing is, you can definitely check out my video on what love bombing is. I have a Narcissism 101 series of videos. There's a whole series that you can check out. But Narcissism 101, love bombing is one of those videos that you can check out. Let me just tell you, if they are doing that, just keep walking. And I want you to put that in the comments. Just remind yourself right now, just keep walking. Put that in the comments right now. Just keep walking. Last one is being the first to leave before they've lined up new supply, because they want to make sure that they've got new supply, better supply, something to, I'll show you that I've got better supply, new supply, something that kind of shows you that I won, because they want to be able to have gotten something to fill that hole, fill that gap, which of course it is that black hole that's never filled. But they want to be able to show you that they were able to do it, show you that they've got something better, show you that they've got something that will beat you down, you know, because they get supply from being competitive and devaluing you and all that sort of thing. So that will hurt them too. You know, you've moved on before they were able to do that, before you were able to secure that supply, because they weren't able to control the situation. They weren't able to control the damage. They weren't able to make the decisions and, you know, control their kingdom. And they feel entitled to be able to do that. So if you were able to move on before they were able to do that, then that will bother them too. You know, they're very, very insecure people. So they weren't able to get to it before you were. So those are the three things that I think hurt the narcissist the most, you know, or exposing them in some way because they feel exposed, exposing their diamond level supply, showing, you know, who they truly are, showing their true colors, exposing them to the world for who they truly are. That hurts the narcissist clearly the most of all things, for sure. All right. So there are a number of things that narcissists definitely want, but really it all leads back to one path, and that is the Almighty, which is narcissistic supply. There is a hierarchy to narcissistic supply, however, that I have figured out. And that is that they want this, what I call sort of a diamond level supply or grade A level supply or tier one, if you will. And that is how they look. And how they look, it can be tied to a number of different things. It can be the big houses, the prestigious friends, the great cars, the impressive job, the big bank account, that sort of thing. But it's all going to be tied up in how they look. And then there's what I call tier two, the coal level. If you're looking at diamond level, there's the coal level. It's the less so. It's also very, very important to them, but it's kind of, it's like the flip side. It's the side they don't necessarily show people. It's like why I know that they know how to behave, but it's something that they also love and don't so easily give up. But it's devaluing people, debasing people, treating people poorly, manipulating people, triggering people, getting under people's skin, using their sense of control to try to make themselves feel superior to others. It's to build up their ego by making them feel like they are better than others. And it's not the external, it's not how they look to the world, but more how they look in their eyes to other people. And so the external, that adulation, is what they want more than absolutely anything. Now, what they want more than anything is that adulation. And so, what they want more than anything is to have full control over you, full control, full adulation, full dominion over you. And that's what they're going for in the relationship, is that full dominion over you at all times. Now, obviously, you don't want to give in to that during the relationship, because once you do that, they actually kind of start hating you at that point. And you do want to check out my video on why the narcissist hates you. Definitely check out my video on that. They do start to hate you at that point. They don't really want that. They actually feed on the drama of the back and forth of the whole thing. I mean, they kind of want you to go back and forth and have this whole drama. And I do have a whole video, by the way, on why the narcissist loves you and hates you. And you should check out that video as well. That's why they have these cycles of the relationship, the love bombing, the devaluing and the discarding. And then they go back and forth, back to the love bombing and then devaluing and the discard. You can check out my videos on that as well, because they don't really necessarily want that. And by the way, the only type of person that they actually respect is somebody who's going to kind of stand up to them. I have a video on that also. And that's why you have to have boundaries. So I want you to write that in the comments right now, boundaries, because as soon as you start establishing boundaries, that's when you're going to start to push back. That's when you're going to start to negotiate with them. That's when you're going to start to shift the dynamic. And that's part of my slay methodology. That's when you're going to start to take your power back, and they will actually start to fear you. And that is what I always say, the not so secret is the narcissist is actually way more afraid of you than you are of them. There's no doubt about it. So you're not going to give in completely where they have full, complete dominion over you in the relationship, because that's what they really want. They want full dominion over you. That's what they really, really want, because then you lose your self-respect, you lose your freedom, you lose who you are. And I can't tell you how many people have come into my office and said, I don't even know who I am anymore. I've lost who I am. And people who still know who they are in a professional sense, who are very, very highly respected individuals in their professions and in their careers. And I may be talking to you, but on a personal level, they don't know who they are anymore because they've completely lost themselves in the relationship, because they've lost themselves to this person. And if that's you, by the way, and you need a therapist, we do have a partnership with betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung. And, we do receive sponsorship with them. There's no additional cost to you, but get the support that you need. Or if you have your own therapist, and that's great too. But we only partner with people that we trust. So I wanted to mention that if you don't have your own therapist. But going back to this, what they want, and I mention this because when you go to negotiate with them, a lot of times you're in this fog, and how you start to find your place of power is putting down those boundaries and starting to walk forward and not backward. How you start to do that is starting to even just recognize what's happening. And by getting education like this and recognizing what's happening, starting to put those boundaries in place, starting to shut down what's going on, and realizing that you don't have to live this way any longer, because you sure as heck don't. Okay, so 4 things that will hurt a narcissist more than indifference. I know you've probably heard that indifference hurts the narcissist the most, right? So let's go back to what really makes a narcissist tick, because in order to understand what hurts a narcissist, you have to understand what makes a narcissist tick. Okay, so what is a narcissist to begin with? A narcissist is a person who feels like they have to get all of their form of value from external sources. They feel like they don't have any inherent sense of value. So they feel totally and completely empty inside, like there's a black hole inside of them. So they feel like they're starving. They feel like they can't get air. They feel like they can't get oxygen. So they feel like they're in survival mode all the time. So in order to survive, they have to get their sources of air or oxygen from people, from you, or from outside the world. But unfortunately, there's nothing inside that can hold that basket. Like there's nothing there. It's just like this emptiness. So it just kind of goes right through them. So you might want to fill this black hole, and they want you to fill it too, but then you're left totally and completely depleted, and they're still starving or gasping for breath. And this horrible cycle keeps going on and on and on forever. And so then you're left utterly exhausted, and like your soul has been sucked from you, and yet they're still starving. And that's what keeps going on. And so indifference is actually the thing that allows them to just, yes, it hurts them, but what happens is they just go on to finding a different source of supply. So what hurts them more than that is what I'm going to go through now. Yes, that hurts them, of course, but I'm going to go through the things that actually hurt them more than indifference. Okay. So, because cutting off their source of supply is yes, hurtful to them. But number one, the thing that hurts them, and I'm going to do what it hurts them the most last here. All right. So I'm going to go through 4 things. What hurts them the worst is what I'm going to go through last. All right. So number one is finding a better source of supply, better source, perceived better source in their mind, right? So, you have moved on to somebody that they think has more prestige, is better looking, has more money. That hurts them more than indifference, for sure. They think that you've moved on to this other person, that hurts them. Now, what they think they're hurting you is if they've moved on first to this perceived better source of supply, even if you don't even care. But if they think that they've moved on first to this perceived better source of supply, then they're going to parade this other new person around like some peacock, boy, that's for sure. But even if you're over there with your eyes rolled up, like, I do not care. Believe me, I've been there. Like, I don't care. But if they think that you have a better source of supply, then that totally hurts them more than indifference. Okay. Number 2, cutting off their best source of supply. So whatever they perceive to be their best source of supply, whatever that is, like a really good source of money or a really good source of sex or whatever. If you cut that off, then that will definitely hurt them more than indifference. Okay. So, maybe they think that they're, have a good source of prestige or something, and they don't get to have that anymore. They get to go to some country club or something, then that will hurt them more than indifference as well. Okay. So that is another thing that hurts a narcissist more than indifference. Another thing that hurts a narcissist more than indifference is losing. So losing anything, by the way. So it doesn't, and I don't mean just losing like a game or losing negotiations, but losing negotiations for sure. But it could be losing their looks. As a narcissist ages and they're starting to lose their looks and they are starting to look older and, they're starting to get wrinkly, that is a huge source of angst for a narcissist, especially if their looks was all they had. If that was what they really were hanging their themselves on, like maybe they were a model or a celebrity or something where their looks were pretty much everything and their identity, that could be a huge source of something to hurt them more than indifference, for sure. Losing their money, I remember when I was, a short period of time, I was helping people with their money and, working as a wealth advisor. And I remember people losing money in the stock market or losing, when people lost money to Bernie Sanders or not Bernie Sanders, whoever the guy was that took all that money from people, Bernie Madoff, that's who it was. People wanted to like commit suicide or whatever, because that was like their entire identity. Any kind of losing like that, where like their identity is wrapped up in the thing, then that's what the narcissist identity is, then that can hurt a narcissist more than indifference. And if you've seen it, put a "seen it" in the comments for me. Say "I've seen it," because I know you have. We've made our way through the first 3, and now we are going all the way down to our 4th one, which is the best one. I've been trying to make my way down to the best one here, which is exposing them to their best source of supply, exposing them to their best source of supply. Because remember, diamond level supply, coal level supply. And when a diamond level supply is how they look to the world, coal level supply is how narcissists get supply from controlling people, manipulating people, that sort of thing, which they love as well. But their best source of supply is how they look to the world, and even more so how they look to people they respect, people they really want to look good to. So if you expose them to people that they really want to look good to, that's hurts them the most. So exposing a narcissist to people that they don't want to be exposed to, that hurts them way more than indifference, for sure. What are 7 horrible lies that the narcissist is going to tell about you to their new supply? Number 1 is, they took all my money and left me homeless. Boo hoo. Yep, that's what they're going to say. They stole all my money. And that's why I don't have any. They left me homeless and penniless. They love to play the victim for their new supply. And of course, that's why they're going to get their new supply to pay for everything for them. And, the old expression, nobody falls in love faster than a narcissist who needs a place to live. So they're going to get their new supply to pay for everything for them, move into their new supplies place. And the new supply is going to feel so sorry for them. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you had to go through all of that. Yes, I know. They took all my money, left me homeless and penniless. And they'll get into all this agreement about how horrible you were because you took everything from them. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, oh my goodness, we hadn't had sex in forever because, they repulsed me. They're going to make it seem like sex hadn't been a thing in forever. And even if it's totally not true, they'll make it seem like there hadn't been a physical relationship in a really, really long time. They just make up lies about whatever your relationship was to make it seem like it was way worse than it actually was, because they want to make it seem like they are such a victim. They want their new source of supply to feel sorry for them and gang up on you. Because then, of course, if there are ongoing issues, especially with the children, if there are children involved, they want their new source of supply to help turn the children against you, to get involved. I can tell you, as an attorney, then the new sources of supply starts writing all the messages in our family wizard, starts getting involved, starts writing all the messages to the attorneys as well. It gets super, super messy, really, really annoying. I can tell you that, that's for sure. Number 3 is, I started to allude to this, they turned my children against me. So now what happens is, if the children are against this person, they're going to blame it on you. They're going to say that you are the one that alienated the children. You're the one that caused the problems with the children, that the reason why the children don't like this other person is because you caused it. It had nothing to do with them. It had nothing to do with the fact that they may be a bad person, or maybe they were a bad parent, or maybe they weren't good to you. And the kids saw that. It had all to do with the fact that you turned the children against them. All right. That's the next one. The next one is that I was never in love with him or her. And, this can be especially painful for you to hear. And let me just tell you, don't take that personally, because a narcissist never could love you anyway. And I have a video on why the narcissist hates you. And I would definitely watch that video, because the narcissist doesn't have the capacity to love anyone, including themselves. They hate everybody. So definitely check out that video, and don't take anything personally that the narcissist is saying about you, about them, about any of this. But this one can be especially painful to hear. So just take it with a grain of salt when this might come back to you. And by the way, if you've heard any of these so far, give me a totally in the comments because you probably have. I'm sure you probably have. So give me a totally in the comments so far. The next one is I wanted to commit suicide every day when I was with him or her. I mean, they get so dramatic. They thrive on this drama, so they'll say things like that. Oh my God, I was like in such a depression every day when I was with him or her. I wanted to commit suicide. I couldn't wait to escape when I was with him or her, please. I mean, like they act like every day was like in prison when they were with you. That's another one. Another one was they'll make it sound like you were so jealous or possessive because they want to make it sound like you were so in love with him or her, that you were clawing all over him or her all the time and that you just couldn't live without this person, but they couldn't stand you. So you were super jealous and possessive. They never loved you. They were repulsed by you. You took all their money. They were victimized by you. They have this huge narrative about how jealous and possessive and in love with you, but yet, they were completely repulsed by you. So that's the next one. And then the last one is that you told lies about them to everyone. So, whatever the narrative is that's going around about them, about how horrible they were, whether it was they were abusive or a horrible parent or whatever it is, all of it is a bunch of lies that you spread. It has nothing to do with the truth. Maybe it was that they didn't pay child support or that they were a terrible provider, whatever it is that you might have said, they're alcoholic or, all of it was a bunch of lies that you spread. It had nothing to do with reality. You caused it. They had no culpability, no responsibility in any of that. They were perfect. They were a perfect wife, perfect husband, perfect mother, father, whatever it was. You were just horrible. They have no idea why you were the way you were because, obviously you were crazy or delusional and just caused all of this problem all on your own. All right. You know how narcissists take over your mind. They take over your soul. You feel depleted. You feel exhausted all the time. That's why they're called energy vampires. Before I even knew the term energy vampire, I used to say like a leech. They're like a parasite. They attach themselves to you like as if you're a host, that you become that narcissistic supply to them. And they take over your mind. And, you wake up in the middle of the night, you're thinking about it. You wake up in the morning, you're thinking about it. You're brushing your teeth, you're thinking about it. You're walking the dog, you're thinking about it. You're washing the dishes, you're thinking about it. And how do they do that? How do narcissists take over your mind? They do that because they start off with this love bombing and they come off so charming and so charismatic and so personable. And they make you feel like you were the most amazing, incredible human that they ever met. And they mirror you. They use these mirroring techniques to make you feel like, wow, you met this soulmate. And you basically feel like, oh my gosh, wow, where has this person been all my life? They read you, they read your body language, they read everything about you. They're excellent at reading people. And so they become this perfect person for you. During this idealization phase, they completely sweep you off your feet. And it's intoxicating. They totally rock your world. And I'm telling you, This is business or personal. I had a narcissistic business partner, and they flood you with everything at the beginning. And so it takes over every single one of your senses. And so here's the thing. You also were, wounded. You were an empath and you had dealt with your own traumas. And you also felt like, oh my gosh, this person sees everything about me. They can love me and I can save them. I can help them. And so there was this symbiotic relationship that made you believe that there was something that brought you together. All of this happens at the beginning of the relationship. And then what happens is they lock you in almost right away. They want to get you to whatever the next step is right away and lock you in, whether it's business or personal. Let's meet the family. Let's get married. Let's move in together. Let's be business partners, whatever it is. And then once you're locked in, or they get your feelings locked up and they get you attached to them, now the cold. Now it's devalue. Now it's ghosting. Now it's, I'm not texting you back right away. Now it's devaluing. And now they start using those tactics, gaslighting, word salad. I didn't say that. That didn't happen that way. What are you talking about? This circular conversation. And I have videos on all of these things, word salad, gaslighting. You definitely want to check out my videos on all of these things. If you haven't seen these things, if you're not familiar with these terms, definitely check out my videos on these things. And there are studies that have been done on these things. Robert Sapolsky has done these studies on these things. He was a Stanford University professor who had done these studies on monkeys and the dopamine effects on your brain, on the hot and cold and the hot and cold, and how you actually become physiologically addicted to people because you're just the anticipation that they might give you that hit of love bombing. And so you become physiologically addicted to them. And that's how they start to take over your mind, because you might get that hit of love bombing again because they future fake you. Oh, you're right. I should have done this, or next time I will. And I promise you it's going to be better. And you'll see. And back to the love bombing, because they draw you back in. They draw you back in with these promises of Emerald City, it's going to be so much better. And you think that it is just when you think you're going to go out of it again, because they know how to get you back in again. And so they condition you. They constantly are conditioning you. And so that's how you end up having them where they take over your mind, they take over your spirit, they take over your soul. And so how can you take it back? You just have to get out of that toxic stew and finally break that cycle. And there's a fantastic saying that's, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Go where you're celebrated all the time, and start to just put boundaries in place and leave them in place and make them strict and say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to be in this toxic cycle anymore. I'm going to stop this conditioning. I see what's happening here. So you stop, you start to pivot, you start to turn around, and you start to shift that dynamic. You start to reteach them how to treat you by putting boundaries into place and by starting to have less contact with them, briefer amounts of time, briefer amounts of contact with them, and start reinforcing the behavior that you want by saying, I'm not allowing you to disrespect me anymore. I'm not allowing you to speak to me like that. And I'll have a conversation with you when you can speak to me in a respectful manner, or things like that. start to show it in your body language by just reinforcing that you're not going to allow that. And by reading their body language too, by the way, which I do have a whole video on that as well. But here's the thing. You have to look at the wiring in your brain and start rewiring the programming in your brain. Understand that it's your side of the fence that's going to have to get rewired. You're not changing what's going on the side of the fence of that narcissist. They will not be changed. As soon as you can understand that, things will get so much better for you, because they will not change. You are the one that's going to have to change, and your response to them. The faster that you can understand that they're not regular, reasonable people, and they're not going to act like regular, reasonable people, because they're not regular, reasonable people. And so don't expect them to act like regular, reasonable people. And the faster that you can understand that, the faster that you can help yourself and protect yourself. And so just start to work on your side of the fence, start taking care of yourself, start protecting yourself. I have a whole video on self-care. Definitely start with the self-care, start pivoting, understand that you deserve so much more. You're probably way smarter than you think. I know that you are. And the fact that you're here, the fact that you discovered these videos means that the shift is starting to take place. That is amazing. Give yourself a whole lot more credit than you probably have so far. You deserve so much more than you have so far. And understand that you are enough. You are enough. So start to see those open doors. Start to feel that power inside of you. What I want you to do right now is I want you to write in the comments, I am enough. I am enough. Just start to feel that right now. Start to feel that power right now, and start to understand that, you just have to rewire your side of the brain, start to take over, start to retake your brain back and recondition your brain away from that narcissist by putting boundaries in place and have briefer and briefer contact with them, and just start to see them for who they are, which is toddlers in adult bodies. So why am I talking about quantum law and karma and all of these things when I am a lawyer? I'm going to tell you why right now. Because mindset is 50% of winning a negotiation, and intention is a huge part of that. 80% of a negotiation is won before you even walk into the room. Because it comes to your planning and preparation, yes, of course, but it is a huge part of it is your mindset. It is one of the most important parts of it. And mindset also has to do with your thoughts. And your thoughts are energy. And what quantum law says is that whatever energy you're putting out there, that's the energy that you're going to get. Like attracts like. It's just physics. Okay? And so when you are like forming a thought in your mind and you're placing that thought out into the world, you are basically placing an order to the universe. And you're saying to the universe, this is what I want to have happen. This is how I want it to go. So if you say things to the universe like, I'm never going to get that, he or she always gets their way, I can never win, I'm not even going to try to get this particular thing because it's never going to happen. The universe goes, okay, because whatever your little beams of thought are, that energy that you place out into the world, that's what comes back to you. Your thoughts are literally just protons, neutrons, and electrons and ions, all just floating around in your brain. That's all they are. You can't feel them, you can't touch them. As fast as they come into your brain, they can go back out of your brain. Let's just try an experiment right now. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about a white picket fence. Just hold that in your mind. Now let it go. Is it still there? No, it's not. It's gone. And it's the same thing with your thoughts. The only thing is, when you start to have beliefs, that just means that it's a thought that you've thought over and over and over again. And now it's become a belief. And now you just believe that it's true. But it's only because you've been thinking it so many times that it becomes like true to you. But it doesn't mean it's necessarily true. If you want to know more about power thinking when it comes to narcissists, make sure to check out my video called Power Thinking when it comes to narcissists, because making sure you have a powerful mind is going to be so, so important. So what happens when you're harnessing the power of quantum law is you're basically lining up the power of the universe to say, this is how I want it to go. It's almost like you're setting your GPS. And, you know, if you're driving from Los Angeles to San Diego and you don't know how to get there, you're going to put a thing in your GPS, and you're just going to assume that you're going to drive there. At no point do you go, well, maybe I'm going to get there, maybe it's going to happen, maybe not. You know, maybe I'll end up in you know, Oregon or something like that. You don't think that, right? But that's what we do with our thoughts. We go, okay, well, I think I'd like this to happen, but maybe it won't. Maybe I'll end up over here. Maybe I'll end up over there. You can't do that when you are harnessing the power of quantum law, because, you know, the universe of physics is such that it will respond to exactly what you put out there. Like attracts like. That is a physics law. And so your thoughts are going to beam out into the energy, and whatever it is that you put out there is going to come back to you. So the first step in actually beating that narcissist is believing that you can. And not only believing it, but knowing it with every cell of your body that this is how it's going, no matter what. This is the direction that it's going to head. I am going to receive this. I am going to let them know that I am more powerful. They are going to see that they are no longer the more powerful one, that they are no longer the one who's controlling me. I am the one who's in control. I am the one who's in control of my thoughts, my life, my outcomes. And then that's how it ends up going to go. The universe wants to respond to you. It absolutely is at the ready. It's like the soldiers who are just, as soon as you clap, boom, there they are. What would you like? But you have to let them know what it is. Because if you say, I'm never going to win, I shouldn't even bother to try, then that's how it's going to go. And the other thing that's really, really important is that you need to make sure that you are not saying things to the universe that's going to make the universe believe that you're not in control. And by saying things like, I'm a victim, I can never win, or I need a good lawyer, or somebody else has to help me, or I need more money, or all of those kinds of things. You're basically saying to the universe, I don't have it now. I'm not in control. I can't do it. The way things are now, it's not going to happen. And then that's what's going to happen. You've placed that order to the universe. So if you are a winner and you're changing your mindset to be a mindset of a winner, then I want to see I'm a winner in the comments right now. Go ahead, write it. I'm a winner. I want you to start saying that to yourself over and over and over again. That's your mantra. I am a winner. I recently read a book called Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which was really, really great, especially if you're a woman. I don't know, maybe guys would like it too. But it was really a good book. And one of the things that she said was her mantra in that book was, I can do hard things. And, you know, at first I was like, I don't know, I can do hard things. Is that a good mantra? And then I started to like think about it. It was like, okay, now, yeah, if I'm getting ready to do something that maybe feels like a challenge, or maybe I'm afraid of, then, you know, just say to yourself, I can do hard things. And another one that I read one time was a book by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I think the book was Big Love. And we'll make sure we drop links to these books down below if you want to check them out. No obligation, but if you want to check them out, you can. Anyway, in the book Big Love, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about fear. And she talks about how anytime she does something new, she used to say, oh, I have to get rid of fear. I can't have fear come with me no matter what, you know, I've got to figure out a way to like get rid of it. Well, but the truth is that none of us ever completely figure out a way to operate into a new world or a new thing without any fear whatsoever. The courage is doing it in the face of fear, right? Like the cowardly lion in The Wizard of Oz. And so what Elizabeth Gilbert says in that book is that she has learned to go, okay, and like have a conversation with fear and say, all right, fear, we're going on a trip, we're doing this thing, and we're gonna get in the car, and you know, I understand that you're gonna have to come along. I would like for you not to come along, but I understand that you're coming along against my wishes, so okay, fine, fear, you get to come, but you definitely do not get to drive. You have to sit in the back seat. I'm driving. You don't get to drive. You don't get to navigate. You definitely do not even get to touch the radio. You don't get to play the songs. You just have to sit there and shut up while I'm doing this thing and I'm driving. So fear, you're coming, but I'm driving. And I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful analogy. So if you want to use quantum law to beat that narcissist, the thing you have to do is start with your thoughts. Start like pinging into the universe. Remember, like attracts like. So what you ping out pings right back to you. It's like a boomerang. So if you want good things to start coming to you, you better start being very, very aware of the things that you're pinging out into the universe so that the right things start pinging back to you. And that's the way you're going to start the path of beating that narcissist. What are some of the traits of a narcissist? It's really important to understand a narcissist if you're going to be able to get back at them. So if you haven't seen my video on the 7 deadly sins of narcissism, you're definitely going to want to check that out. Here's a basic primer on narcissists. The basic primer is that they have no inner sense of value. So they have to suck all of their value from the external, which we call narcissistic supply. And on top of that, they have no sense of care, empathy, or feeling for other people. That's the second layer that people often forget. Sometimes people think, oh, if somebody goes around saying how great they are, they definitely must be a narcissist. There's that second added layer of they really literally don't have the ability to care for other people. And it's all on a continuum because all of us want to feel seen, heard, and know that we matter. We all have that as human beings. And we all want to tell other people about our accomplishments and share that with people. And oftentimes it's necessary to share your accomplishments in order for people to understand that you have value in a work setting or something like that. But what I'm talking about here is that added layer of I don't have any sense of inner value, and I also don't care about other people. That's how narcissists think. So when you're dealing with narcissists, you're going to be seeing a person who's constantly trying to figure out a way to get supply from people. So supply can come in the form of adulation and compliments and having lots of money and all of these things, but supply can also come in the form of controlling people, degrading people, devaluing people, and treating people poorly because they get supply from trying to make themselves feel better by putting other people down or trying to get that sense of control. That's also a form of supply. How do you possibly get back at a narcissist? First thing that you're going to do is remain calm, cool, and collected. Just remain as unemotional as possible. Just imagine that you're watching like a 2-year-old have a tantrum on the floor. You know, that's just going to absolutely drive them crazy, and it actually you start to beat them at their own game, because remember, they get narcissistic supply from driving you crazy. So if you're cutting off that supply, if you're just looking at them and you're saying, I can see that you're upset, or are you okay? Perhaps we should have this conversation later when you've calmed down. And you just smile, remain calm. Now remember, you have to do this in a way that's completely not sarcastic at all. There can be even a twinge of that, because a twinge of tone or a twinge of sarcasm, they will notice it, they will hear it. Narcissists are like dogs with dog whistles when it comes to tone. So you got to be really careful to make sure that you're just saying it in a way that's just the facts. You know, like that old TV show, Just the Facts, ma'am or sir. So you're just noticing, just observing what they're doing. So remain calm, cool, and unemotional. Number 2 is to use phrases that are observant but not reactionary. And this is kind of related to number 1. But if they say things to you like, you're just jealous, or you're a cheater, or something like that, those are phrases that are deliberately meant to get a rise out of you, deliberately meant to cause you to be upset, because then they're getting that supply. So you're going to say things like, if they accuse you of things, you're a deadbeat dad, you're a crappy mom, you are an alcoholic, you know, things like that, you know, the normal reaction for us as human beings is to go, what? Are you crazy? You know, that's you. And to engage. And now here you are, you're in the mud with them. You're down and dirty and getting into it with them. And that's what they want. Now they've won. So if you want to beat them, you're going to turn around and you're going to say, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but you are certainly entitled to your opinion. Or something like that, because they want you to defend yourself. So you're not even going to defend yourself. You're just going to say, I hear what you say. I don't agree with you, but you're certainly entitled to your opinion. Never badmouth them to anybody. I know it's so hard. You're going to want to just tell the world how awful these people are. They're liars, they're cheaters, they're manipulators, they're intimidating. They're trying to make me think I'm crazy, and on and on and on and on and on. And they do that to get narcissistic supply out of you. And so even if you think that you're just telling one person or somebody that's close to them, you know, I think that this person is a narcissist or whatever, you're actually playing into their hands. So what you want to do is actually not talk about them at all, like as if they never existed. The way to really beat them is to make them disappear, like disappear them from your life, and in a way that you're not talking about. It's like they never even came into your life, like you never had a relationship with them at all. And that's what will really hurt them and really cause you to beat them, because you're no longer giving them any supply whatsoever. Remember, they have these flying monkeys, these minions, these spies that are all around, and you never know where they're going to be or what's going to get back to them. And any little thing that gets back to them makes them think that, ooh, they still care what I think. Ooh, they still want to be involved with me in some way. And so you just resist that urge. If you really need to vent, if you really need to find a place to go and talk to people, I do have a private Facebook group, which is called Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Go in there and vent to people who are also dealing with narcissists, or talk to your therapist, or talk to your parents or other people that aren't going to go back and tell this person that you were talking about them. Really resist the urge. Just don't talk about them at all if possible. And if you are so over it, give me a so over it in the comments. The fourth thing that you can do is quit going above and beyond. You've done enough for these people. You've given them not only your mind, body, but also your soul. And it's enough already. It's enough already. So be done with it. You've fed the black hole enough. You can't, it's one of those machines that you're just constantly putting in, but you never get anything out. You're constantly giving. They're constantly taking. There's nothing you're ever going to do to change that paradigm. So just stop. Just stop right now. You can't fix them. Stop giving them love. Stop giving them care. Stop giving them attention. You can't love them back to health. It's just not possible. So right now, today is the day that you stop putting those quarters into that machine that's not even working, because you're not getting anything out of it. Okay? And the fifth thing that you can do is to go no contact completely. I understand this is difficult if you still have this person in your life. So if you can't go no contact, then you need to have super strict boundaries. But going no contact is ideal. And no contact means block them on everything. It means don't talk to them at all. It means any form of anything is going to give them a little bit more supply. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You don't talk about them. It's as if you have completely erased them from your life. You've never met them before. So that's the only way to finally beat them at their own game. So let's talk about this narcissist. They come across so powerful, so all-knowing, like everything is going their way. And it's so frustrating sometimes. And it's so, it makes you sick. Like you feel nauseous inside, and you really start to feel and believe and know in your heart, like, oh my gosh, I can never win. I can never get past this. They always seem to get away with everything. Why do they always seem to get away with everything? Oh my goodness, I have had so many people say to me, how are they getting away with this constantly? And it just seems like it never ends. Like, how are you ever going to get past that? Like, you're just constantly on the defensive, and it's so hard to even imagine what it would be like to actually go on the offensive. And it seems really kind of like you're putting on somebody else's clothes or coat or something. Like, this doesn't seem right to go on the offensive. A lot of times when you are in a relationship with a narcissist, it probably means that you're an empath or an empathic person, a very caring person. You feel very deeply. And that's what attracted the narcissist to you in the first place. And you, as the empath, were attracted to the narcissist in the first place because you saw something within them that you could potentially help them or love them back to health and all of that. That's what we empaths want to do. And if you want to know more about the relationship between the narcissist and the empath, check out my video on exactly that. There is like a symbiotic relationship between the narcissist and the empath. So, you know, all of this, it means that when it comes time to actually fighting back against that narcissist who feels so much more powerful than you, it's really, really hard. And sometimes it can feel impossible, but it's actually so not impossible. The one thing I really want you to understand is that a narcissist is just a huge bully who's actually super scared inside. And the big secret is that you are actually the more powerful one, and they don't want you to know that. So they go to great lengths to try to make you think that you're the one who's less powerful, that they are the ones who are all-knowing and all-powerful. And in fact, they even use manipulation tactics and all kinds of verbiage, and they do all sorts of things to make you feel like you are the weaker one. So they'll even say things like, no one else thinks the way you do, and everybody else thinks this and this and this. And so you really start to feel isolated. And if you want to know more about narcissist favorite sayings, check out my video on the narcissist favorite sayings. But you're basically put in this position to just feel like they never will lose, no matter what. And so, you sometimes feel like giving up. But I'm here to tell you that it's never okay to give up. Don't give in. Don't give up. These people are basically terrorists, and if you fight back against them, you will see that they will eventually come unglued, that they will eventually collapse, that they will eventually give in. And if you want to know more about what happens when a narcissist collapses, you should definitely check out my video on what happens when a narcissist collapses. So, how do you fight back against a narcissist when they seem so much more powerful? Well, the first thing that you're going to do is, check in your mindset. What is your mindset? Is your mindset something that says, I can be powerful against this narcissist? Or is it saying, I'm never going to win against this narcissist? And so if you want to know more about your mindset, check out my video on power thinking when it comes to narcissists. Mainly, what you want to do is just start to believe that you can be powerful against the narcissist. Understand that I've helped millions of people get the results that they want, and I can help you as well. But you can also help you. Just watch these videos or do the things that I'm telling you to do. You can do it. So start to believe it, because you can go, wait a minute, all these other people have done it in the worst of situations. They've turned it around. Yet you can start to turn that ship around. 80% of a negotiation is won before you even walk into a room, and 50% is your mindset. So number one is just believing that you can do it. So number one is your mindset. Number two is keeping your emotions in check. Just really, really, when you are negotiating with that person who seems so much more powerful, they are going to try to trigger you. They are going to say things that they know will upset you. They know how to push your buttons, especially if it's in a divorce situation or even a business partner situation where you've actually had a chance to really get to know this person. They know what your weak spots are. They know how to get to you. So they know that if they say a certain thing, it's going to trigger you. It's going to take you off of your game. Expect that. And don't allow them to penetrate. Don't allow them to get to you, especially in front of them. I mean, hey, if you need to go cry or scream in the shower afterwards, scream in your pillow, yell to your therapist, whoever you need to, fine. But when you are in that situation with that narcissist, you say things like, I can see that that's how you feel. Like, in other words, you leave it all over on their side of the table. It's not coming over here. And, it's almost like there's this glass shield around you, and it's just like the bullets are just pelting off and heading back over their direction. All right. So when it happens, you just, I hear what you're saying. I know that's what you believe, something like that. You constantly are saying things that will actually just allow you to disarm them and also you to not be affected. I also have a video called Phrases to Disarm a Narcissist. You can check that out if you'd like as well. So that's number 2. And I really, really want you to believe that you are powerful. And if you believe that you can be powerful, I want you to put in the comments, I can be powerful. Put that in there right now. I can be powerful. This is the start. Mindset, keeping your emotions in check. The third thing that you can do is actually really, really do your research. You're going to research your side. You're going to research the other side. You're going to do as much as you can to have everything prepared. Understand exactly and anticipate what it is that they're going to say. And then that way you'll have a response for it. The more that you can prepare, the less concerned you're going to be that they're more powerful. The more that you have your arguments ready to go, the less powerful they will be, especially if you're anticipating what the other person is going to say. And the fourth thing that you can do is use languaging that makes you seem more powerful. In other words, you can say things like, I know that we are both on the same page when it comes to this. But here is one issue that I want to present to you, and I anticipate that this is what your argument is going to be, and here's what my argument is. So you use powerful language, and you can also use powerful body language. So that's going to be number 5. Use powerful body language. Power language is, putting your arm draped over the chair, grabbing your chin, steepling. These are 3 different ways that you look more powerful.